So today I want to give an update on my 90 unit portfolio. For those who don't know or are new to the channel, I own 90 units of real estate without any partners while working full time. I started off house hacking single family homes in California, picked up 4 to 5 of these and quickly pivoted to out of state where I bought a single family home in Alabama. I have 2 apartment complexes in Oklahoma and I have a mobile home park in Alabama. So I bought a lot of real estate in a short amount of time. It was basically in an 8 month window. I bought 80 units of real estate, all value add. Right. I bought a 26 unit that I'm renovating completely. I bought a 20 unit on a hard money loan that I'm renovating completely. And I bought a mobile home park, which I'm renovating completely as well. So I'm doing 3 heavy value add deals while working full time still without any partners. It's just me. So kind of fast forward 2 years later, kind of want to share what it's like to really own real estate, right? Like when I bought my 26 unit, for the first, I think, 8 months, I bought it in August of 2021. So about 2 years ago from now in September. And it took until June of 2022 before renovations even began. I had a huge delay because my general contractor was backed up on the prior project. And this is very common with renovations, right? Like projects take a lot longer than expected and cost a lot more money than expected. But because the 26 unit was, for the most part rented out, I was making decent money. I was probably averaging between, eight to $10,000 gross a month. So it kind of kept, the property afloat. And, people left obviously when I bought the 26 unit. And, I slowly just had it kind of stagnant for a while, didn't really rock the boat. And then, fast forward 8 to 10 months later, that's when I started renovating it. Around that same time in May of 2022, I closed on my 20 unit apartment complex, which I bought using a hard money loan. And that one's a 12-month term, and I had to renovate, you know, almost all the units as well. So you're a little bit under the pressure there. While doing those two, I bought my mobile home park in November of 2021. So that one I started renovating as well. So what kind of hit me crazy was I bought a lot of real estate at the same time, and now everything is finalizing at around the same time now in September of 2023. So fast forward about 2 years, or a year and a half to 2 years. My 26 unit, when I first started off of it, 24 out of 26 units were occupied. The moment I took over, I had about 7, 8 tenants leave. So I was always kind of hovering around like, I'd say, 12 to 14 out of the 26 occupied on average. Maybe a little bit more than that, but, averaging between that 8,000 and 10,000 range. And, once I started renovating, it was pretty consistent. I was renovating in batches of 5, right? So it probably took me about, 3 to 4 months to renovate 5 units at a time. Fast forward to today, so it's probably been about 15 months since I started renovations. And at this point, we only have 24 or 26 units are rented out. I'm getting roughly around $16,000 in gross rents. When I first bought it, it was 10,000, right? Like fully at 24 out of 26, I was getting 10,000. And now today, I'm 24 out of 26 and I'm getting 16,000 because I was able to bump up the rents from about $450, all bills paid. So essentially, I was probably netting about 350 to 300. And now I'm renting out units for 700 to 750, and they cover their own utilities. So, most of the units I renovated, some I did full remodels. I call them premium units. So, new kitchen, new flooring, new bathroom, new everything. Those are the ones getting top rents. There's some units where, they weren't as bad. So, I called it a moderate turn. So the moderate turn typically cost me around maybe $3,000 to $5,000. The full turn was between $10,000 to $15,000. And some units, like, we just had existing tenants and we just raised their rents without doing anything, right? We just gradually renewed their lease. We made them responsible for the utilities, and we raised their rents a bit. And we might fix a thing here and there. We might give you a new ceiling fan, maybe a new refrigerator. We would do something for them, before raising the rents. So at this point, there's 2 vacant units. One's rent ready. It's a studio, and the other unit probably requires around $7,000 worth of renovation. Brand new everything. And then once that's done, like I'm pretty much done with my 26 unit, right? Like it definitely flew by. My property managers in my 26 unit was great. They're very self-sufficient. I really didn't need to, I probably spent the least amount of time on this 26 unit, to be honest. They're just very good about like ensuring that I always had around eight to $10,000 a month while renovating everything else, right? Because when you do value add real estate, your occupancy is going to drop. Because when tenants leave, you want to have it readily available so that you can easily rent it out, so that you could, easily just have it be vacant and your cash flow dips. But what they're good about is, all right, we had maybe 16 occupied units and 10 unoccupied units. And then, we would set those up to renovate. So it made it easier for the contractor because he could do it in batches of five. So you can do kitchen for all five. You can do demolition for all five. You can do flooring for all five. You can paint all five. You can replace the bathroom for all five. So it makes it a lot easier for the subcontractors. But at least by having 16 tenants, I was still kind of getting around 800 to or 8,000 to $10,000. So it kind of helped cover my expenses. So I was breaking even, right? It helped cover my mortgage, my property tax, my water bill, my electricity bill, any other stuff. So it was nice, right? Like I didn't really have to go out of pocket besides the renovation. And sometimes you had extra money that would go towards the renovation of property. So, fast forward like 2 months ago, I think I had like six rent ready units, and literally within like a 2 month window, she rented out 6 units. And it's good timing because right now it's in September. Once you hit the holidays, like October, November, December, January, it's really hard to get good quality tenants because no one wants to move during the holidays. So Shields Clutch, they came in, they basically managed a whole renovation. I was very hands off, just wrote checks and asked for updates, once a month. And finally we finished renovating the last unit. Once that's done, all my units are renovated. I mean, obviously if a tenant leaves that was existing, we might have to renovate that unit, whether it's a full remodel with brand new everything or a moderate turn if it's in decent condition. But basically the cash flow that I'll get, 16,000. If it's fully occupied, it's probably gonna be closer to 18,000. And keep in mind my loan's only about $2,000. Insurance is about 1,500, right? And then they're covering the utilities. Everything's renovated, so maintenance should go down. We fixed up some of the exterior to make it look nicer, and then once that last unit's done, we're going to renovate the remaining exterior for another like $5,000 to $7,000. And honestly, at that point, it's going to be pretty hands off, right? Like we don't have to really do much. So this property, it's the first one I got. It's a home run. I bought it for 500,000. Appraised at 750K day one. I probably put in around $300,000 in there, so $800,000 all in. And honestly, I think it's going to be worth at least double, like at least $1.6 million. Locked in a great interest rate at 4%, fixed for 10 years. So I just can ride out these high interest rates, and when interest rates drop, I can do a huge cash out refinance. Pull up my down payment, pull up my renovation cost, and get some extra money on top, and then buy more real estate, right? So that's kind of the goal for that one. So my second piece of real estate was my mobile home park, and fast forward to today, I'm in the process of selling it, and I'll definitely make a video talking about it in more detail. But for me, this was way too big of a project for just myself. Honestly, the property manager that I have, they're not that great. Fortunately, in mobile home parks, there's not really great property managers compared to apartments. And renovating a mobile home park costs a lot more money versus an apartment complex, right? Like mobile home parks are not built as sturdy. So I had a model where half the homes were owned by tenants, and then half the homes were owned by me as a landlord. And I had a lot of homes that I owned that I needed to fix up. So I thought it'd be just as easy, right? You just basically hire contractors, they fix up the mobile homes, rent it out, maybe try to sell it. But everything went wrong, right? Like there's a lot of land there. There's 55 acres. It costs a lot of money to trim down trees. You had to mow the grass. You have a full-time guy just to mow the grass. You have the tenant-owned homes where if they don't pay you the lot rent, it's hard to evict them because they own the home. If it's if you own the home, you don't get great tenants, and they'll you renovate the mobile home, they'll maybe trash it. You have to renovate it again, and you just lost all your cash flow. So because of that, I honestly put 80% of my time and energy into this. Um, and despite that, I'm probably gonna sell it for a loss or break even. over the span of 3 years. So I basically put in a lot of time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears, sweat equity, just to literally lose. I think I'm probably gonna lose around $50,000. Selling this property, a mobile home park. But I basically got a huge lesson that I don't want to do mobile home parks, and I don't want to deviate from apartment complexes, right? So these are the battle wounds and scars that you get when you invest in real estate. That the key is to figure out what you like. You have to try before you commit. And for me, mobile home parks not my cup of tea, right? Like it's mobile homes are not as sturdy. When I renovate these units, tenants will easily trash it, right? Versus an apartment complex, when you renovate it, it's more sturdy. It's easier to find contractors, easier to find property managers. It's easier to sell too. Like trying to sell my mobile home, I've been trying to sell it for since December of 2022. So it's been almost like 9 months of me trying to sell this, right? I had a buyer who had it under escrow, and then he kept on extending and extending and extending, and he couldn't come up with the money on the day of closing, and had to cancel the contract, take his earnest money deposit, and start over, right? And then the next guy that I'm selling it to, obviously lowballed me. I was trying to break even, but he lowballed me a bit, so I'm losing about $50,000. But I just want to get off my plate, move on and focus on my apartments. Like I said, I'm putting 80% of my time, energy, effort, and money into this mobile home park, which is losing money, versus my 26 unit. I'm putting 10% or even 5% of my time, energy, and it's like self-sufficient. So that's what I mean by just focus on one thing, master one thing, and that's how you become efficient and you become the master of one versus good at two, three things, right? So that's my lesson learned. I have a bunch of videos about that. Next is my 20 unit, right? So my 20 unit, I put about 15% of my time and energy into this. So if you look at the breakdown, 80% into my mobile home park, 5% in my 26 unit, and 15% in my 20 unit. And why the 20 unit required 15% of my time was because I had a hard money loan on it, and it was only a 12-month term. So obviously speed is of the essence, right? Because I'm up against the wall in terms of my loan. And then also it was a heavier renovation, right? Like I had units that were burned down. I had one unit that was completely burned down. Need permits, costed me about $40,000 to renovate it. And then, when I took over the property, I had to renovate a lot more units than anticipated. Like, I honestly thought when I bought it, I was only going to renovate, like, I think 15 out of 20 were occupied. And I thought I was just renovate the 5 that were vacant and rent them out, at $500 each, which was the market rent. And, one of them was a burned out unit. Another one, was pretty bad as well, but not as bad as the burned out. And the other 3 were a little more just like cosmetic, right? But when I took over the property, I went from 15 out of 20 quickly down to like 7 out of 20, right? So I had like 8 tenants leave. So because of that, now I'm vacant. So I was probably collecting around $3,000 to $5,000 a month, depending on the month. And I had like 13 vacant units that I need to renovate. So luckily there I had a contractor who was referred. He was good. He was fast. But he was expensive, right? So I was basically paying for speed. So he was great when doing big projects, right? He's great if I had the burn down unit, I had the more heavy renovations. But when he gives me quotes for like more simple cosmetic stuff, like literally you just paint the walls, touch up, drywall here and there, touch up the bathtub, just basic paint and fix it. He was way too expensive. And for context, like he quoted me $3,000 to rent. So we had one tenant. So let me backtrack a little bit. We had one tenant where he renovated the unit, brand new, nice. And I had a tenant in there that, unfortunately, he moved in when we offered rent special during November and December, the slower time, because I just wanted to fill up my unit, right? And, the property manager, they would go through their background check and their screening, and, he checked everything, right? So, he did good. But, he basically paid for a couple months, and then, maybe towards the end of his lease, he did a 1 year lease. He stopped paying. So, we obviously went through the eviction process. It's very easy to evict in Oklahoma. It's just a 15-day notice, and then, you basically evict them. But what happened was him and his neighbor, they started doing Sharpie art on the walls, right? So basically he did a bunch of Sharpie art. Like there was a huge hole in the bathroom that wasn't there. Like I said, this was a brand new renovated unit. And, the neighboring, I had to evict him as well because he also had like Sharpie art everywhere. I don't think he damaged the proper unit as much, but pretty much like this guy was paying me $500 a month. The security deposit was $500, and then I needed to touch up everything, right? And the contractor gave me a quote for each of those units that he renovated before, and he wanted $3,000 each to fix it up. And I was just like, wait a second. When you renovated the unit the first time when it was in worse condition, it was $5,000. How can it cost $3,000 after just 8 months of renovation? Did the tenant trash it that badly? Right? The other unit, the neighboring one, I mean, that one he never renovated, but like that one was in good condition. So, we just did we just painted it, touched up things here and there, fixed things here and there, and it was rent ready. And for that one, he called me 5,000. And I was just like, well, I know that one wasn't as bad. Like, why are you charging me 5,000? So, talked to my property manager. Luckily she was strong. She's like, hey, you know what? I have this handyman. He renovates my house personally. He can do paint. He can do basic repairs. And I trust him on my own house. So like, let me get a quote from him. So he quoted me, and then basically he was like, okay, well, to paint one, just to paint one room, it was like $500, and another $100 to repair the drywall, so $600. The other unit was $500 to, um, repair as well. So the security deposit covered it, right? So the security deposit covered at least the paint. So instead of paying $3,000 to $5,000, $8,000 each, I paid about a little over $1,200, right? Because that's all I mean, like, because that unit honestly was getting me around brand new $500, and just touching it up, I still get about $500, right? So the market kind of wants something more affordable. You don't need to over improve it. So, um, anyways, he was really great when renovating the really heavy renovations, but when it came to lighter stuff, he was just way too expensive. So you always want one of each, right? You want one that's like cheap and you can just do it and make it ready, right? And you want one that can do the big stuff. Like, he did a really great job. Like, his units were nice, right? Top notch, very meticulous. He knows his worth, right? But for me, I just want what's the most cost effective. So, anyways, on this 20 unit, I just hit the point now where I'm 18 out of 20 occupied. One unit is rent ready, and then one unit we're just painting up. It's one of the units that we've hit the tenant and painting the walls, and then at that point we want to rent it out, right? So, when I bought it on a hard money loan, it took me about 15 months to refinance it. Believe it or not, it took me about 3 months to do my cash out refinance, and because interest rates went up, cap rates went up, my value wasn't as high as I thought it would be. So during the cash out refinance, I was only able to pull $80,000, but I put in $200,000 in the deal. So I left 120K into the deal, right? And my loan's around 2,600, and I'm grossing around $8,000 a month, or no, $9,000 a month. So if you kind of do the math, I'm getting around 1,600 a month from my 26 unit, and I'm getting around 9,000 from my 20 unit, right? So that's roughly around $25,000 a month, and then I'm not going to include my mobile home park because I'm in the process of selling that, and honestly, I'm bleeding money every month on that mobile home park. So the moment I get rid of that mobile home park, both my apartments are stabilized all at the same time, right? Like literally in about 2 weeks, I'm hopefully going to close escrow on the mobile home park. Literally right now, I have 24 out of 26 units occupied. We're renovating the last unit right now. We're actively trying to rent out one unit, that 26 unit, and then 20 unit, literally one unit's rent ready and one's probably rent ready already, and we're trying to rent those out, right? So I bought them all at the same time. They're all stabilized at the same time. So what's next, right? So for me, it's just give myself a break, right? I'm taking a loss on the mobile home park. I'm seller carrying second, so a lot of the initial equity that I put into the deal, I'm carrying as a second lien position because this doesn't get bank financing when hard money loan rates are terrible. So I'm having to seller carry about $450,000, getting paid 6% interest only. So it's roughly around $2,200 a month. So over 3 years, I'll help recover my $50,000 that I lost. So I consider it a wash, right? And lesson learned. I'm still young in real estate, so if I have clarity at 33 and what real estate to buy, great. And then at that point, I have about $170,000 in lines of credit debt that I need to pay off. So when I sell my park, I have enough money to pay off, a $70,000 line of credit, but I still have $100,000 line of credit that I need to pay off. Right? That's through First Republic Bank, and it's about 8% interest right now. So what my goal is I'm gonna take money from my day job, throw money at that loan. Um, Whatever money I have left in my savings, I'm gonna throw it at my loan, but keep a decent cushion. Obviously, like I want to keep at least probably around $60,000 in my bank for emergency fund and reserve, and then anything above 60,000, I'm gonna try to throw out this loan. Um, if my apartments start cash flowing, which they definitely should, right at this point, I'm getting $25,000 a month, and let's just say I only get let's say 40% of that um, as profit, because I usually typically assume about 55% expense ratio, and then another 5% for reserve. So let's say 25,000, I'm gonna gain about 40%. That's around $10,000 a month. If I can take that $10,000 a month, combined with my W2 income, and let's just say I'm paying 15K a month, then I hope to pay off my $100,000 line of credit in about 7 months, right? And after I pay that off, I'll be debt free, at least in terms of my personal line of credit. Hopefully, I'll still be cash flowing about 10K a month, not a little more, like 11K, and then I'm gonna start saving up for my primary residence, for me and my girlfriend to live in, right? So once again, if I'm making like 15K a month, um, to get to another 100K, another 7 months of just me working, saving the money, and then I'm gonna buy a primary residence. And I want to bring you guys on that journey, right? Like literally, I wish I documented me buying my single family homes and my prior house hacks, but this time I'm gonna like record everything. I'm gonna bring a GoPro, document everything, show you the open houses, analyze properties I see on Zillow, Redfin, just to show you along my journey as well as my my pay down journey of my debt, because I'm anticipating I'm getting $10,000 a month, but who knows? Maybe AC breaks every month and I can't go as fast. But I do want to show you how I'm doing it and bring you along the journey, and show it's possible, right? Like that's what's beautiful about real estate. Like, geez, like if I it took me like 2 years to generate a machine that grosses $25,000 a month and 10K is net profit, right? I basically replaced my W2 income. Like I don't even have to work at that point. But because I want to, pay down my line of credit, because I want to save for a house, because I still don't mind working and building up that wealth, this is how you really grow, right? I can use that 10K a month to basically save more money to buy more apartment complexes, right? So this is what's beautiful about real estate. Like I created two Golden Gooses, about 46 units in Oklahoma that's grossing me 25K a month. And honestly, that's insane. Like I could leave my job and be fine, right? Like have the same income and do that in literally a 3 year span. Like that's crazy. That's crazy to me. That's madness. Like that's how life changing real estate can be, right? And um, gives me the option to like work part time. Gives me the option, if I get married, to have my future wife be part time, or not work at all, right? Or maybe we both can be part time. But since I don't mind working, and if it doesn't, I built a real estate empire while working, I can continue to work and do it, right? So, really excited for this next journey. It's been a grind. I'm seeing the finish line, and I'm just very excited to harvest the fruits of my labor, the grind I've been doing for the past like 3 years. It wasn't easy on me. It wasn't easy on my girlfriend. It's a lot of stress, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. But once I'm done, I think it'll be worth it. Because of the option that gives me, right? Like you work hard now and then you can coast later. And that's always been my objective, right? I don't really care to be super, super wealthy. I just really want real estate to give me options to just, and I don't mind working to obtain a certain lifestyle. But then once I hit a certain like wealth and lifestyle, I don't really care to go any above and beyond that, right? Like I don't really need a nice fancy house as long as it does what it needs to do. It's a great location. It meets my needs. I don't need a mansion. Maybe if I make that much more money, I'll consider it. But right now, it just doesn't make sense. And I don't mind working still. It's nice to get that steady stream of income as I'm letting my real estate kind of self-sustain itself, and then I can live off my W2 income and sustain that lifestyle. So yeah, really excited. It's been a long journey. It flew by. I'll be honest. I got my first apartment at what, 31. I'm 33 now, 33 and a half. So definitely excited for what it's going to do for me. And finally have my assets pay for my lifestyle, right? I've been paying for my assets for the past 3 years, but now I want to enjoy some of the benefits of that. So hopefully you found value from this video and got insight of what it's like to really own 90 units of real estate. Hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.